Welcome back. One final point before we go tonight. What the mainstream media was too afraid to tell you about the news this week. This week, while the mainstream media obsessed about Michael Cohen and his business dealings and promoted Stormy Daniels' return to adult entertainment, here are the things that happened that really matter. How long did it take the media to forget about the Democratic rising star who slapped, spit on, and choked 4 women? How many news outlets reported the fact that New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman was a Democratic Attorney General, a longtime nemesis of President Trump? The Washington Post, Axios, CNN, NBC, the LA Times, Politico, none of those outlets mentioned in their breaking news updates that Schneiderman was a Democrat. Shame on them. The left always tries to paint sexual abuse as an anomaly when it's a Democrat. But isn't it a critical part of this story when Schneiderman placed himself at the forefront of the Me Too movement as a liberal Democrat and was then outed for brutally assaulting 4 women? It took less than 1 week for the mainstream media to stop talking about this story altogether. Shame on them. Another longtime Trump nemesis in legal trouble. Liberal Rosie O'Donnell committed campaign finance law violations 5 times. Conservative Dinesh D'Souza went to jail for something similar. A lot of people are saying what Rosie did was actually worse because she did it on purpose. She used 5 different addresses and 4 variations of her name on those donations, and her lame defense was, well, I thought they would send me the money back if I donated too much. How would they know it's you, Rosie, when you're using 4 aliases? But did the mainstream media report on this law-breaking activity to the extent they obsessed over D'Souza's arrest, trial, and conviction? Oh no, they didn't. The mainstream media barely touched this story. The superintendent of the Broward County School District, Robert Runcie, admitted the Parkland school shooter Nicholas Cruz was, in fact, referred to the controversial diversionary program called the Promise Program. This revelation comes after Runcie vehemently denied that Cruz had ever been a part of these programs. So why did he lie? Well, the mainstream media surely won't ask. In fact, Superintendent Runcie brags about a 90% success rate in the Promise Program in Broward County schools. But that claim is horribly misleading. In fact, to fail out of the Promise Program would entail a student commit 5 misdemeanors in the space of 1 year, because the Promise Program allows students to commit 4 misdemeanors each year, and that count starts over at the beginning of each new school year before the students would ever be reported to law enforcement. So I don't know if that's something to brag about, that 1 out of 10 students in the Promise Program commit more than 4 misdemeanors or felonies every school year. But the mainstream media, they won't even look at the details here. They're too obsessed with peddling the liberal gun control agenda. California Assembly Bill 2943, the bill in the California State Assembly that illegalizes the sale of goods or services that purport to change somebody's sexual orientation, including goods and services that just counsel people to change their behavior or feelings, has claimed its first victim. A Christian group canceled their conference, which was set to be held in Los Angeles, because they teach a biblical worldview on sexual morality. And that counseling, plus the fact that they charge students to attend the conference, would qualify as goods and services under this bill, and the content of what they teach could be a crime if the governor signs this bill. The mainstream media doesn't care to report any of that to you, so we will. And that is my final point. You can reach me on Twitter at Liz_Wheeler. If you liked the show, please send me an email at oann.com/contact. In the meantime, catch us here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, and until then, have a good night.